Imagine digging into the earth and finding it staring back at you, not with fossils, not with bones, but with eyes, lifelike, unblinking, frozen for thousands of years. What would you think? That you've lost your mind, or that the ground itself remembers? Life loves to hide its greatest secrets in the most unexpected corners. Sometimes behind a wall you never thought to break. Sometimes under layers of earth that your ancestors walked on for centuries without knowing what lay beneath. Sometimes in the well you dig just to survive another day. A single blow and the sound changes. The ground no longer answers with stone, but with a hollow sigh. You kneel, trembling, reaching into the unseen. Your hand slides over the unexpected, not root, not earth, but something built, something sleeping, something that should have never been touched. In 1974, in the parched fields of Shanxi province, a small group of farmers bent to their work. The sun burned overhead. The soil was dry and unyielding. For weeks the rains had failed, and the harvests were thin. Every strike of the shovel was not just labor, it was hope. Hope that somewhere beneath the stubborn ground there might be water, a spring, a well, anything to save their crops and families from another season of hunger. Hour after hour, the farmers pressed on. Sweat stung their eyes. Clay dust clung to their clothes, and the pit grew deeper. The earth resisted them, hard-packed, merciless. The shovels bit into rock, into roots, into lifeless soil. Nothing stirred, nothing changed. But still they dug, driven by need, driven by the quiet desperation of survival. And then a moment came when the rhythm broke. One strike rang different. A sound that did not belong to stone or soil, a hollow echo, sharp enough to stop the men in their tracks. The tools froze. The air seemed to tighten. Something beneath the surface was waiting. The men knelt in silence, their breathing heavy, the taste of clay thick on their tongues. With their hands, they cleared more soil from the strange object. At first, it was only a fragment, a curve of cheek, the bridge of a nose. But as the dirt fell away, the form sharpened. Eyes emerged, hollow and watchful, carved to look alive. They dug further, carefully now, unsure if they were disturbing something sacred. Another piece surfaced, a shoulder, squared and armored, the edge of a sleeve, patterned with lines that no natural force could have made. It was as though the earth itself was peeling back a curtain, showing them fragments of a long-forgotten world. One man struck his shovel deeper and unearthed a hand, not flesh, but molded fingers, curled in stillness, forever frozen in mid-gesture. Nearby, a broken fragment of a horse's mane appeared, sculpted, strand by strand. The farmers exchanged uneasy glances. The deeper they went, the more pieces emerged. A boot, the end of a spear, a cracked face staring upward through centuries of dust. None of it belonged to their time. None of it belonged to the dry fields they had worked for generations. The soil was no longer just earth. It was a vault, packed with shadows of another age. Still, the full shape refused to reveal itself. Each strike of the shovel brought another clue, another fragment, but never the whole. It was as if the past was teasing them, giving only glimpses, a lifelike ear here, a soldier's braid there, the rim of a shield, the shattered jaw of a clay warrior. The pit grew wider, the pile of broken clay taller. What was this place? A burial ground? A forgotten temple? The questions tightened their chests, yet their hands kept digging, as if drawn forward by something larger than themselves. And just when they thought they had reached the limits, the soil gave way to something larger still. A chest, a torso, a figure rising in its entirety from the ground, life-sized, detailed, a soldier. standing where no soldier should be. But even then, the mystery was only beginning, because every fragment, every figure they unearthed, hinted at more, at something vast hidden beneath their fields, stretching further than they could imagine. The men whispered to one another in low tones, uncertain whether they had disturbed the resting place of spirits. Some wanted to cover the pit again, to leave the pieces buried where they had lain for centuries. But curiosity pressed stronger. Piece after piece came loose, hands, feet, torsos, each more lifelike than the last. Word spread quickly through the village. Neighbors came to look, eyes wide, voices hushed. What they saw made no sense. A head with a neatly tied knot of hair, lips pressed as if about to speak. Beside it, fragments of a horse's body, its muscles carved with uncanny skill. Its nostrils flared as though it might still breathe. Villagers crossed themselves, muttered prayers, wondered aloud if ancient gods or ghosts were waking beneath their fields. Soon, officials were called. The pit once dug for water now drew men in uniforms who examined the broken figures with stiff faces. Archaeologists followed, kneeling in the dirt with brushes, sweeping carefully over the fragments. And with each sweep of the bristles, more emerged, a soldier's hand gripping the stump of a weapon, a charioteer's reins, the ear of a warhorse. The villagers gathered at the edge of the pit at dusk, watching the earth give up its secrets under lamplight. By torch and lantern, the faces seemed even more real, shadows deepening the hollows of their eyes, giving them the look of men alive but trapped in silence. Whispers grew louder. What is this? How many are there? Why here? The days passed, and the pit grew wider. Each morning, the farmers and officials returned, expecting the fragments to end, but they never did. Every layer of soil uncovered more, not scattered ruins, not a handful of broken statues, but figures, standing figures. One soldier emerged whole, his face calm, his armor detailed with hundreds of tiny plates. His hands once gripping a weapon now lost to time. Another followed, then another. Soon there were rows, silent men carved from clay, standing shoulder to shoulder, as if waiting for a command that would never come. What unsettled the archaeologists most was not just their number, but their individuality. No two faces were the same. Every soldier bore a different expression, stern, watchful, weary, defiant. They were not replicas, they were portraits. It was as if an army of real men had been captured and remade in clay, then sealed beneath the soil. As the pits expanded, the shapes grew stranger. Chariots began to appear, their wheels broken but still recognizable. Clay horses stood frozen mid-stride, nostrils flared, muscles rippling as if sculpted in motion. An archer, kneeling with bow once in hand, gazed upward from centuries of silence. The earth was no longer giving fragments. It was yielding entire ranks. The more they dug, the more the earth surrendered its secret. What began as broken fragments became full soldiers. What began as a handful of statues became rows, and then formations, an army taking shape beneath the fields. Archaeologists widened the excavation, pit after pit, and the silence of 2,000 years broke open. There were not dozens, there were not hundreds, there were thousands. Over 8,000 life-size warriors stood buried in vast chambers. Archers knelt with bows drawn. Charioteers gripped reins of clay horses. Commanders stared ahead, their armor heavier, their stance taller. And each soldier was unique, different faces, different hairstyles. The marks of individual men preserved forever in terracotta. This was no accident. This was a design, a vision of immortality, for they stood guard over the tomb of China's first emperor, Qin Shi Huang, a man who united kingdoms into one empire, who dreamed of conquering not only life, but death itself. The scale was unimaginable. Soldiers arranged in battle formation, rows stretching farther than the eye could see, horses, weapons, armor, all sealed underground to protect their ruler in the afterlife. It was the largest underground army the world had ever known. So the soldiers still stand in silence, their watch unbroken, their emperor still hidden. What the farmers uncovered in 1974 was more than archaeology. It was a reminder that the past never disappears. It waits, and sometimes, when the ground finally opens, it stares back at us with the eyes of an army frozen in time. It began with men searching for water, nothing more. But what they unearthed was not a well, not salvation for their crops, but a secret that belonged to eternity. A hidden army, frozen in clay, waiting for thousands of years to look back at the living. Sometimes history finds us when we least expect it.